What's up guys, so today I'll be attempting to take a stab at the age-old debate of which one is quote-unquote better, STEM or Humanities. But more importantly, I'm going to use a synthesis of both to break down exactly what is so special about the two. Let's get down to business. Before we get to the juicy bit, let's define STEM and Humanities and then break down the characteristics of a STEM person versus a Humanities person. So, what is STEM? And what is Humanities? Now, there are three distinct ways to illustrate and visualize this. Let's begin with number one. To start off, we have to break down what is human knowledge as a whole. Ultimately, knowledge is simply a pursuit of reality, and here's where it all starts trickling down. The pursuit of reality and knowledge is just a fancy way of saying philosophy. Now, philosophy breaks down into two branches: physics and metaphysics, tangible knowledge and intangible knowledge. Although there's a lot more to address in terms of the metaphysical branch of knowledge, we've already somewhat covered it in the last video explaining maturity, so we will leave that for now. Today, we will be focusing on this branch of knowledge, the physics branch. To begin, through art and literature and other primary sources of human expression or presence, philosophy is merely history with a context. History is in turn economics or sociology with a context. Economics and sociology are merely psychology with a context, and as we all know, psych or neuroscience is simply biology with a context. Biology is basically chemistry, chemistry is basically physics, and physics is simply expressing nature and the universe with, well, expressions that relate to each other. So in conclusion, everything we have mentioned boils down to math, knowledge in its purest form. In general, these are what we respectively consider STEM and Humanities. Nevertheless, as you can see, there's a strong case here that, in the grand sense, STEM and Humanities are really the same thing. The hard sciences is just as nuanced and abstract as art, and the social sciences are just as much science-y as the hard sciences. Yet, when we mention mathematics, it comes with very distinct implications compared to, say, history. Why is that? Due to the apparent difference in complexity of STEM and Humanities, they emphasize two completely different ways of thinking. STEM is leaning towards what I call vertical thinking, it's logical, pragmatic, and direct. On the other hand, Humanities deals with more horizontal thinking. When the derivative is zero, that would be pure philosophy, or philosophizing if you will. On the other hand, a completely vertical slope would be pure mathematics. Now, modify the ratios of the doses of philosophizing versus pure mathematic reasoning, and you get all these subjects that go in between. And of course, it is when the x and y values of this cognitive slope get too close to each other when debates arise, such as whether or not biology should be considered STEM, etc. Another way of visualizing this is through a two-flavored cake that looks like this, where the base is mathematics and the top is philosophy. Each corresponding cross-section represents a particular subject. The higher the slice of cake, the more it will resemble philosophy, and the lower you go, math. As a result, a STEM-leaning person typically likes tackling problems more directly and use raw logical and intellectual force to break down an issue, while a Humanities-leaning person tends to tackle problems more holistically and philosophically through synthesis. So overall, STEM people typically work from the inside to the outside, while humanities people work from the outside to the inside, if that makes sense. STEM people tend to learn and conceptualize specific skills far more rapidly, but are slow to extend these skills into wider applications. This can be a good trait for many things. As a result, STEM people are more prone and quicker to enjoy intellectual exchange in various forms, such as discussion, competition, or research. And STEM people usually find it easier to pick up the nuances of new concepts. Meanwhile, humanities-leaning people are far better at contextualizing and widening the applications of newly acquired skills and concepts. This type of intelligence is crucial in life, but is a lot more subtle compared to STEM intellect, because humanities is simply more complex and harder to break down than STEM. STEM people are slightly more likely to be male or introverted, while humanities people are slightly more likely to be female and or extroverted. This is simply because of how the brain is biologically wired in males and females. Males are far better at processing information, while females are better at integrating information. These genetic differences can be explained by the hunter-gatherer social structure of prehistory. Yet, both sides have equal advantages and drawbacks. For example, in the long term, STEM people struggle with more abstract concepts. This could lead to many disadvantages in life, and the sheer rapidity and ability of a STEM person to adopt new skills or identify problems can often blind him or her from the overarching reality. This deficiency is often difficult for STEM-leaning people to understand and can frustrate an observing humanities person. On the other hand, for humanities people, the lack of a sharp, cogent rationale can be quite frustrating on many occasions and can lead to more grueling learning curves on various subjects. Now, depending on what is being learned, this may or may not be something that one can afford. This deficiency is often difficult for humanities-leaning people to fully understand, and can frustrate an observing STEM person. The thing is, a proficiency in one will conveniently rectify every potential disadvantage of the other. Therefore, especially upon understanding that both STEM and humanities aren't quite mutually exclusive as people think, it is crucial, in my opinion, for someone to master both and hence gain a minimum rudimentary understanding of all of these subjects. Neither STEM or humanities is better. However, a proficiency in both will exponentially enhance your ability to make decisions, motivation, and widen your perspective. You see, in many cases, a STEM person may not realize the benefits of a strong understanding of humanities until it's much too late in life. And the same goes the other way. To embrace all ends of knowledge at an earlier point in life will help you make much better decisions. Also, keep in mind that without a full and comprehensive understanding of both STEM and humanities, you can potentially have a person who is good at both, but still leans heavily towards one over the other. Kind of in the same way as how ambidexterity often works. You can have someone who can write with both hands, but still grossly prefer one over the other. To achieve absolute ambidexterity in STEM and humanities will require some incentive, open-mindedness, and some work. Depending on where you're at, it may or may not be difficult in the beginning. But trust me, once you become fully realized in both, there's not a problem in life you can't attack. And that's about it, folks. Now, there will be a video following up this one, dealing with morality, how to derive it, and whether or not it's objective. I will still be making videos on higher education and College Board, and also expect an upcoming video regarding language. I will get to these all... Whoops. Excuse me. I will get to all these juicy topics and more as soon as I allocate the time to do so. So, yeah, please feel free to leave critiques or comments down below. Thank you for watching, and later, my friends.